You're about to spend $10,000 on a car. That needs $15,000 of work. I'm a mechanic. I've spent my entire adult life under cars, and I've watched good people, smart people, get absolutely wrecked by 5 specific used muscle cars that the market keeps recycling from one unsuspecting buyer to the next. Not because these cars are bad. Some of them are genuinely legendary machines. But there's a version of each one that gets listed at exactly the right price, detailed just well enough, and sold to someone who doesn't know what they're actually buying. Today I'm telling you exactly what that looks like, what to check, what the warning signs are, and the number one on this list. The asking price alone is the most dangerous part of the deal. Number 5, third-generation Camaro, 1982 to 1992. Cheap to buy, looks incredible, pure American muscle with real character, and that price point is exactly what makes it dangerous. Here's what nobody tells you when you're standing in someone's driveway, cash in hand, falling in love with how this thing looks. The T-tops, those beautiful, iconic, deeply cool T-tops, are slowly killing the car. Every time you hit a bump, every pothole, every railroad crossing, the roof opening that makes this car look so good is also a massive structural weak point. The third gen uses unibody construction, no separate frame underneath. The body itself is the structure. When it flexes repeatedly through that T-top opening, you get stress fractures at the A-pillars and windshield frame. The windshield seal fails. Water gets in. It sits. It rusts. In exactly the places you can't see. At first it's subtle, a door that doesn't close quite right. A faint whistle at highway speed. You think it's just old car behavior. Then the windshield leaks. Then the door seals fail. Then the body gaps aren't even anymore. And by the time it's obvious enough to catch during a driveway inspection, you're already deep into structural repair costs on a car you paid very little for. But the T-top flex is only half of it. The rust on these cars hides completely until it's already catastrophic. Lower quarters, behind the bumper supports, inside the rockers, under the carpet on the floor. I have pulled carpets on cars that looked clean. Freshly washed, decent paint, presentable interior, and found holes in the floor large enough to put your fist through. By the time rust breaks through to the surface on a third gen, the damage underneath is already catastrophic. You're not catching it early. You're doing damage control on a car that needed serious work months ago. Good third-gen Camaros exist, solid, well-maintained examples, but they are priced accordingly. The cheap ones are cheap for a reason, and here's what always surprises me. Every single buyer asks about the engine. The engine is fine. It is never the engine that kills a third-gen project. It's the structure underneath that turns a dream into an unfinishable money pit before you ever get the car reliably on the road. I know some of you are already typing in the comments. I have genuine respect for the Foxbody platform. It democratized rear-wheel drive V8 performance and put it within reach of regular people. But there is a version of the Foxbody that gets sold over and over in this market. And buying that version is a serious financial mistake. Here's exactly what it looks like. The Fox platform was originally engineered for economy cars. The Ford Fairmont. Compact transportation. It was designed to be lightweight and cheap to produce, not to handle the torque of a stroker V8 or forced induction. The factory chassis has 2 subframes connected to the unibody floor. Without subframe connectors tying them together rigidly, the chassis flexes severely under hard acceleration. Stress cracks develop at the firewall. Fractures form at the front shock towers. Eventually, the front subframe begins pulling away from the floor. On modified examples, and most Fox bodies you find on the used market have been modified. Then there are the floor pans. In over 20 years of working on these cars, I have never once seen a high-mileage Fox body with truly solid factory floors. Not once. Ford applied undercoating from the factory. That undercoating traps moisture between itself and the bare metal below. The rot starts underneath the surface, invisible. The sellers know this, so they put down new carpet, maybe fresh undercoating spray on the exterior, a rubber mat over the suspicious area, and the car sits on a lot or in a driveway looking clean. Here's what this market never says directly. That pricing gap between a rough Fox body and a cleaner later generation Mustang, that gap doesn't exist because the market fails to recognize the Fox body's value. Everyone in this hobby knows exactly what a Fox body is, That gap exists because someone already found the problem. They looked at what it would cost to fix it correctly, and they decided it was someone else's problem. When you buy the cheap one, you're not finding the deal everyone else missed. Number 3. New Edge Mustang GT 1999 to 2004. Here's a situation I've watched play out more times than I can count. Someone buys a clean New Edge GT, decent history, reasonable mileage. Seller says it runs great. They test drive it. Pulls strong, feels solid, nothing obviously wrong. 3 months later, they're in my bay with a coolant leak, an oil leak, and a check engine light that wasn't there when they bought it. And they say the same thing every time. It seems so clean. That reputation is built on early low-mileage examples. At high mileage, and most of these cars are 20+ years old now, that reputation is not accurate. Here's the specific failure sequence. The intake manifold gaskets on the 4.62 valve degrade, with heat cycling over time. When they go, you get coolant entering the intake, oil contamination, rough idle, and potential engine damage if it's ignored. Valve cover gaskets fail at similar mileage. Oil leaks ranging from minor seeping to significant drips. But the most dangerous failure is the plastic coolant crossover tube running across the top of the motor. It becomes brittle from years of heat exposure. When it cracks, and on high mileage examples it cracks, it produces a coolant leak that's extremely hard to locate because of where it sits. Many owners don't catch it until the engine has already been overheated. Here's what makes this so dangerous. These 3 failures don't announce themselves at once. It's a slow progression. A small seep, coolant running slightly low, a rough idle that comes and goes. Each one individually seems manageable. Together, over 6 months of ownership, they represent a substantial repair bill. Early in my career, I almost bought one myself. Clean example, reasonable mileage, price felt right. I was ready to hand over the cash. My mentor walked around the car once, popped the hood, spent maybe 90 seconds looking and closed it. Then he looked at me and said, "How much has it already leaked? And how much do you want to spend finding out?" That one question saved me a significant repair bill. I think about it every single time a New Edge GT comes into my shop. Number 2. Dodge Charger SRT8, 2005 to 2010. Picture this. Parking lot, car show, gas station. Doesn't matter where, and you hear it. That exhaust note, deep, lopey, authoritative, the kind of sound that physically turns your head before your brain finishes registering what it is. The Charger SRT8. I understand the appeal completely. 425 horsepower from the factory. Full-size rear-wheel drive sedan. The presence it commands is real. But hear this clearly. This is a car you need to be able to afford twice before you buy it once. The MDS system, Chrysler's cylinder deactivation, constantly switches the engine between 4 cylinders and 8. The concept is sound. The long-term durability on high-mileage examples is not. Years of switching between active and deactivated cylinders creates uneven wear in the valve train. On high-mileage SRT8s, which describes most of them on the market today, that knock is a failing lifter. Labor alone is significant before parts. If the cam lobe has been damaged by the failing lifter, the cost climbs substantially. Every SRT8 on the used market has been driven hard. That is the entire purpose of the vehicle. The rear differential has a finite service life under sustained performance driving. And the brakes. If your example has the Brembo package, and many do, a proper brake service means Brembo-specific pads and rotors on both axles. The number will surprise you if you've never owned a car with performance brakes. This car demands a real maintenance budget and zero illusions about long-term ownership costs. If you're stretching to buy it and hoping it holds together, I just saved you a lot of pain. Number 1. Ford Mustang CVT Cobra Terminator, 2003 to 2004. I want to be completely clear about something before I say another word. This car is the real thing. The supercharged 4.6-liter iron block, factory rated at 390 horsepower, independently verified to make more than that, is one of the finest things Ford's SVT division ever produced. The suspension, the Bilsteins, the Brembos, the independent rear suspension. It was a complete package that commanded respect when it was new, and still does today. I am not here to diminish this car's legacy. I am here to tell you exactly what is waiting for you in the used market, with real numbers so you can make a fully informed decision. Here is the core issue. Ford engineered that iron block to its absolute limit. Run it stock, with the factory tune and factory boost levels, and it generally holds together. The moment a previous owner modifies the tune, the margins Ford built in are gone. More boost. More aggressive fuel and ignition timing. The short block is now operating beyond its original design parameters. The specific failure that results is spun rod bearings. Under elevated boost, the load on the rod bearings increases significantly. From running it hard when slightly low, from oil that breaks down under the thermal load, or simply from accumulated wear, the bearing loses its film and spins in the rod. Once a bearing spins, the engine is destroyed. That is not recoverable without a complete rebuild. Cracked ringlands are the second major failure. The factory cast pistons were adequate for the stock power level. Under elevated boost, the ringland between the compression rings can crack. When it does, you lose compression, you get oil consumption, and the engine is headed for a rebuild. These are not obscure failures. They are documented extensively by SVT-specific forums and shops that have worked on this platform for 20 years. The desirability premium. Everyone in this hobby knows what a Terminator Cobra is. Private sellers know. Dealers know. Flippers absolutely know. These cars arrive on the market at $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 because the seller is fully aware of what the car means to a buyer who wants one. You pay for the legend. You drive home feeling like you found exactly what you were looking for. Then 6 months later, you find out what you actually bought. A proper forged short block build on a Terminator. Forged pistons, forged rods, quality machine work. Goes $12,000 to $15,000. That is what it costs to build a motor that will actually survive long-term underboost. Do that math against the Terminator currently listed online. Clean engine bay, fresh detail. Seller says it runs perfect and pulls hard. Listed at $11,000 for the car, $12,000 to $15,000 for the rebuild that may be 6 months away. That is a $25,000 decision wrapped inside an $11,000 listing. That is why it's number one. If you are serious about buying a used Terminator, there are 3 things. I will not skip under any circumstances. A full pre-purchase inspection from a shop that specifically knows this platform. Complete documentation of every modification ever performed on that engine. Pulley size, tune, fuel system changes, all of it. And a compression test and leak down test that tells me exactly where the short block stands today. All 3, no exceptions, no compromises. Without all 3, I walk every time. Now you know exactly why. Quick recap. Number 5, Third-Gen Camaro. Tire-top body flex stressing the unibody over time, combined with rust hiding inside the rockers, quarters, and floor, until the damage is already extensive. Number 4, Fox body Mustang, with floors rotting under fresh carpet and subframe separation, on modified examples without proper chassis reinforcement. Number 3, New Edge Mustang GT, the 4.62 valve leak sequence, intake manifold gaskets, valve cover gaskets, plastic coolant crossover, on a car that drives completely normally right until it doesn't. Number 2, Dodge Charger SRT8, the car you need to afford twice. MDS lifter failures on high-mileage examples, rear differential wear on cars driven exactly as hard as you'd expect, and Brembo brake costs that surprise first-time owners. Number 1, the Terminator Cobra, a genuine legend. And in the used market, almost always an iron block that's been tuned beyond its limits, right until you're looking at a rebuild that costs more than you paid for the car. Which one surprised you most? Drop the number in the comments and subscribe now. Next week, I'm covering the used muscle cars I'd actually put my own money into. The ones I'd tell someone I genuinely care about to go buy. You don't want to miss that one. And you won't find out until 3 months after you sign the title. Let's start at number 5. On paper, this is exactly the kind of car you'd want in your garage. Those T-tops flex the body every time, without fail. Number 4, Fox body Mustang, 1979 to 1993. Hold on, this is a real structural problem. The metal never dries out and works upward for years, while the car looks completely fine from the interior, while the deterioration continues in exactly the places nobody's checking. You're inheriting the repair estimate the previous owner walked away from. The 4.6 modular V8 in these cars has a reputation for being nearly indestructible. Failure window is typically between 80,000 and 120,000 miles, on top of whatever you paid for the car. The 6.1-liter Hemi. The lifters on the deactivated cylinders wear differently. This becomes a ticking noise that progresses to a knock. Accessing the valve train on the 6.1 means dropping the engine or removing the intake manifold. Then there's the rear differential. Replacement is not cheap. If that's your situation, fully funded, eyes completely open, the SRT8 is a genuinely remarkable machine, and the vast majority of Terminators on the used market today have been tuned. Most tuned Terminators are running a smaller supercharger pulley. If the oil supply is inadequate, now here's what makes the Terminator uniquely dangerous compared to everything else on this list. You pay for the supercharger wine and the SVT badge, a lightweight economy car platform pushed beyond its design limits, all failing between 80,000 and 120,000 miles, wrapped in a desirability premium that makes the asking price feel completely justified. The ones that deliver everything you want from this hobby, without the financial horror stories.